going to figure this out.
It's true.
We're going to figure this out. We're going to have regular scheduled stuff. So you can like go online and see when our live broadcasts are. It'll probably be on the Monster Hunter. You see where my head's at?
Yep.
Probably on the Wandering Monster events calendar. So you can like add it to your lovely events of what for. For those of you joining in,
yeah.
For those
I was
of you
going to say we
joining
can
in,
also send out a ping like when we go live on Twitter or whatever. Moving forward,
I just did.
Oh, nice.
But
nice.
you'll have to do the Wandering Monster one because I am a Luddite. My name is John Baltusberger.
And I am Charles R. Bernard.
And this is Wandering Monster, the
Your
monster
goddamn
manual of podcasts.
We are. And as you can see by these two handsome bearded grills, if you are joining us live, we are indeed doing video content now.
Even if you're not joining us live, if you just like tuned into YouTube or clicked on a link somewhere on Facebook, like we're here. We're doing it on camera. You might notice that that one voice is missing. And that is of course of our dear friend Lemons Clemens. Unfortunately, Lemons had a lot of real life. Not that we're not real or alive, we are both. But they had like job stuff and family stuff, and they just needed to take a break. Perhaps temporary, perhaps forever. But do not worry, we are still dear friends with Lemons. They are precious to us. We are precious to them. There's no like bad blood or anything like that. They just needed to step away because our once every 3 years recording schedule was just a little too intense.
Yeah, it's true. Once every 3 years is a big commitment for like a cicada, you know.
For a cicada that lives and hunts under your beds.
Yeah.
You know, Charles, I have to admit, there's something I really dislike about this new format of people being able to see me is I'm used to putting myself on mute and just snacking the entire show.
I'm used to putting myself on mute and doing all kinds of other things. So, you know. No, we'll be fine. We'll get used to it. And I will be clocking those chips as we continue. So worry not, my friend.
No, they are gummy worms.
Oh, is that what they are?
Yeah, they are the trolley.
Oh, those are awesome. Yeah.
Trolley Sour Bright Crawlers. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, I will do an entire gummy monster themed episode. If you just send me like a year's supply that I'll eat in a day and then die of diabetes.
And speaking of diabetes, as Wilford Brimley would call it, what do you call it? Sour Patch Kids watermelons at me because I will die of the diabetes on your behalf. Like that just sounds like pretty much a good way to go to me. Too much of a good thing, you know.
Obviously, we're not making light of people who live with and suffer from diabetes,
especially since
I was gonna say it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not my word. I don't get to
no, I'm allowed to make I can say whatever I want on this subject. I was diagnosed in 1984, so like
I fucked up your Twitter handle down there. Charles Bernard, the man that's so hot he gets 2 ads.
That's right.
I have a friend who recently had lunch with me that was like, so he's recently diagnosed with diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, my insurance is covering it right now, but it won't forever. And I'm thinking of going down to Mexico and grabbing myself some insulin. And I was like, I said, you know what, dude? Be gay, do crime. Like, like I'm not going to be the one to tell you not to break laws.
We were.
And then he mentioned some other activities, and I said, don't do that because for the first one, you're responsible for yourself. It's your autonomy and your health. And the other thing he mentioned, which I don't want to go into the specifics, I'll say that it has to do with us living in Texas.
Oh yeah, yeah.
and recent laws pertaining to. And I said, because if you fuck that up, you're not hurting yourself. You could be hurting and killing someone else, and also you would get the death penalty. Like there's way too much at stake to mess with that.
And unlike that service or product, which shall not be named, uh, like you can cross state lines a lot more easily and take care of that than you can of insulin. Like insulin is a
Yeah.
national issue. The number of states with price controls on insulin is way too few, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky to have pretty dope insurance and it doesn't cost me an arm and a leg, but the price of insulin is like if I ever wilt in my rage on for capitalism, I just remind myself that a bottle of insulin costs about $500-$600 a
Yeah.
can. That's
Now,
fucking
Charles,
criminal.
let me ask you this: um, having both of us having been raised in kind of a religious fundamentalist, environment, not necessarily our
Accurate.
families, but the surrounding area. Uh, According to the skewed religious faiths that surrounded us, shouldn't you just be able to pray to Baphomet and get insulin magically injected into your heart by
Oh, now
Jesus?
now you're gonna make
Like
me
a little
really
bath.
mad, John, because there are people who have gone to jail for letting their kids die of
Yeah, I
hyperglycemia
know.
and of diabetic ketoacidosis for that reason.
Hmm.
And that's their kids. That's not them. That's not them saying because you wouldn't live to have kids if you let Jesus do your insulin for you. And yeah, it's distressing. And yeah, we put disabled people and people with medical needs down here, and Christians ooh, let me go out of camera frame way up here. So
I
I
have a
can do visual
friend.
shit like that now that we're doing
Yeah,
visual
no,
content.
it's
That's
wonderful.
fun.
I have a friend who's a incredible advocate for ableism.
Hmm.
I just want, apropos of nothing except disable where we put people in our society, like for no good fucking reason. But
Hmm.
my dear friend Rebecca Raphael, who is who is deaf, and an instructor of theology and religious studies at Texas State, which, oh, hi. I can also do this now that we're on camera. Oh, puggy, puggy, puggy,
Oh,
puggy.
there he
Oh, man, the people listening to this audio are just going to be so mad. Um,
is.
Good
Well, there's a
beans.
puppy on camera, so they'll just have to get the fuck over it.
So, anyway, Rebecca Raphael, she's amazing, and continue the good fight for differently abled rights.
Hmm.
Um, that said, we are not here to talk about people who are differently abled. We are not here to talk about insulin. We're
But like insurance companies, we are here to talk about something that is lawful evil most of the time. Oh man, I nailed that fucking transition. Yeah,
when
we're
you point out the transition, you fuck it all up, right? Like I don't know.
uh,
I don't know who was your broadcast. Like Nicholas Robinson is just sitting there grinding his teeth right now, wishing we didn't suck so bad.
well, keep wishing, and we'll keep sucking. Yeah, we're here to talk about one of the quartet that forms what I like to call the Goot Crew. GOOT, goblins, orcs, ogres, and trolls. Right? Taxonomically speaking, did I miss one out of that big grouping?
I mean, there's hobgoblin. Like it
That's
depends on
true, but
what
I
system, but
consider
there's
them like a sub
hobgoblins. There's
goblin.
knob goblins. Which I'm one of
Oh,
those. Um,
well
there's a
played.
whole bunch of goblinoids,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and depending on the system and the setting and the
yeah.
rules and all that, goblins and orcs may or may not be may or may not be related. Um, in some settings, orcs and trolls, like it depends entirely. Ogres usually aren't in that racial grouping, I don't think, because they tend to be more related to like Japanese style oni
Mm.
than Tolkien Tolkien it up
So they got a
orcs.
little more of the demon in them, basically.
They stylistically they just don't tend to be um they tend to take their appearance, would say, closer to Yokoi and Oni than from more Western monsters. So I have a handy list down there about what we're going to talk about. It's orcs, orcs with the C, goblinoids, and orcas, which is nature's orcs, if you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are like, I'm a little bit afraid of orcas, more so than most. What are they called? The big ass seagoing whales. Yeah, those things.
Now, I think we can probably agree that the racial alignment charts of the throwback D&D is a bunch of bullshit.
Mm-hmm. As is
Uh
anything from the 70s.
yeah, okay, yeah. And the 80s and also the 90s.
Hey,
Um
hey.
I looked through some of my comic books from the
Yeah.
90s, and the aesthetic was, what if we took off
God,
clothes and
so
added
bad.
spikes?
Yeah, dude. Like, I was making fun of Rob Liefeld the other day, and then I saw online. I'm like, he's still getting fucking work. He's like
Mhm.
making bank. Like,
Yeah.
how is that? Anyway, yeah, it's uh anyway. But yeah, tonight we will be talking about orcs,
Mhm.
and I did very little research for this episode. Uh,
Usually you come to the usually you come to the fore with like a chapbook of studies you've done, and I
yeah.
kind of wing it based on amoeba-esque like soaking in of knowledge from my surroundings.
Well,
Um
let's just say that there's one particular type of orc with a particular spelling that I'm most interested in talking about, and it's kind of like that whole mythos is like all I want to talk about for the
okay.
rest of my life. So you'll have to
Okay,
excuse
so
me on that
let's go before that though. Let's did 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 Mr. Tolkien coin the term orc?
I believe so, but it probably has its like he did for like fantasy, I think. But if you look etymologically, I'm sure it comes from some mythology or another, like
Or he fucking made up a language about it.
yeah.
Um like
Uh,
maybe okay, so as most of you nerds will know, orcs are from Tolkien are corrupted elves.
mhm.
Um and like it kind of makes sense that the orcs are evil in the Lord of the Rings setting because those books are very good versus evil. Um
And see, this is like we can just dive right in here. Like, this is a problem that I have with like both Tolkien and the mythos that we will dive into in a minute is like the whole concept of a corrupted or evil like sentient race like bothers me.
hmm.
And I think that most fantasy like franchises or whatever you want to call them are moving away from that and in a more like you can choose your own adventure, or maybe you come from a people that's been oppressed or something like that direction, which makes more sense. Like it makes
We'll talk about
sense.
that in a minute when I'm going through a few of these settings.
Yeah, but like yeah, a corrupted race, like that's just gross. Like
It
now,
has it has its roots in colonialism and imperialism
oh
for sure.
absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in fact, I was like freaking out about something I just like put together from Tolkien the other day that involves racism and colonial. Why not? So, like, I finally put together that the so-called like the wild races or the barbarians or whatever, the humans that come to Sauron's aid,
Hmm.
that they are like India during World War II, because like India was not super into like well, the relationship with fascism was very complicated. Let's just put it that way. And like Hitler and the gang didn't rule out India as like a possible would be ally because people in India at the time were just starting to like be like, this is fucking bullshit about British rule. And no, they'd always been like that, but it was getting organized, it was getting off the ground,
Right. The
and
enemy of
like
my enemy kind of a thing.
exactly. And the British were like scared because here's this continent that they've ruled with an iron fist for, fucking far too long. And
Mhm.
the people are waking up and like whenever that happens, it scares the shit out of like the ruling elite. So I think Tolkien, even if it was like subconsciously, But no, they had war elephants, those dudes, and not just in the movie, in the books, and yeah, like that was a thing in India, which I was delighted to learn the other day. Like,
Did you know that elephants hated it?
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, delighted to
Elephants are
learn
very
as in
kind
like,
and very intelligent.
well,
So
this was
like,
the yeah. I'm talking that I learned about it going back to like the days when like, let's just say that human rights didn't exist, animal rights didn't exist. Like it was just a maelstrom of like people killing people
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in those days. But yeah, I mean, like I'm not into putting sides on an elephant's tusks and making it hurt people. Like that's terrible. I don't even like circuses, and I love clowns. So
How do you
unless
feel
the
about putting sides on a clown's sides?
like I think
I
that
have
a
a movie
clown
to
with a
pitch you.
scythe is just good news for everybody, and I want one at my birthday.
Scytho, the scythe clown.
Yeah.
Bad news. He only sings Disturbed songs.
That's bad news, man. Like, no matter what kind of music you like, unless it's disturbed, in which case, like that'd be a fucking awesome birthday.
Do you
Clown
really
with a
like even
scythe singing my
actually,
favorite band.
especially if you love Disturbed,
Yeah.
like a high pitched clown voice singing it while slinging scythes at you?
Oh.
Probably bad news. Hey kids. um
uh,
so anyway, yeah. Okay. So man, I have mixed emotions about talking about this, but I feel like I have to because they're a huge part of orcs in today's culture, pop culture, I should say. Blizzard at one point got the license to create a game based on Warhammer fantasy uh, skirmish game, and so they made Orcs and Humans. Warcraft One, Orcs versus Humans. It became Warcraft because they lost the license like halfway through, and they're like, "Well, we have the game. Like, can
it's
we
got to
just
have
like
war in the name,
can we
like.
can we just slap some new lore into
And I mean,
this?"
hammer and craft are kind of like,
Yeah, like
that's the most like Kool-Aid flavor thing I've ever heard. That's
can we
delightful.
can we change the lore? And I have to assume the creative director was like, no. Oh, well, can we change it just a little bit? Okay, you can change it just a little bit, just enough so that we're not sued immediately.
That's why there are products with cheese in the title spelled with a Z,
And then unfortunately they weren't just working on that. They were also working on a Warhammer 40K game which became StarCraft.
StarCraft, right?
Um and obviously the Zerg and the Tyranids are the same thing, and the Silithids are Tyranids, and the Orcs are the Orcs are Orcs. I don't know what to tell you guys. They're Orcs.
And then
Um,
the Eldar are the what the
are
hell are they called?
elves,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is funny because now D&D is calling them Eldarin, I think.
I don't know.
I don't pay that much attention. Anyway,
I do, and I can't even keep up with all the fuck. I mean, Fizz Bands just came out with like this whole new retcon of like how the like First World and the creation story of like Dungeons and Dragons, and so like that's going to be a big fucking deal. Yeah, it's a time of great change since they're coming out with like 5.5 pretty soon, and
yuck.
or I guess not because this whole supply chain thing that there have been a bunch of book titles pushed like back
Yeah.
and back and back.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we'll see.
So, anyway, the orcs in Warcraft, the orcs in Warhammer, I'll say they're evil. They're part of
Mhm.
the chaos forces.
Mhm.
They're not as evil as chaos,
Mhm.
but they're adjacent. They exist to destroy.
They're a
Um,
chaos race, which is a term that they throw around in 30K that I'm not sure made it to 40K or Horus Heresy,
yeah,
because like no, it did because the what are they called in Song of
Eisenhorn.
the yeah
Now,
they're
to be
called the
fair, that race is like
they have it
in
woven into their
30K and
DNA.
40K.
Yeah.
In the sci-fi stuff, those are like races that have actually gone fully into the embrace of the gods of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Warhammer Fantasy,
Oh,
they're not. Like the orcs are not
interesting.
corrupted by chaos. They're just like fucking orcs.
Are they
In
still
40K,
fungal?
I look. I will get back to 40K because I know
Okay.
that's what you
Okay.
want to talk
Yeah.
about. In 40K, they're fungus.
Yeah.
So let's go back. In Warcraft, the orcs were this like kind of semi warlike, but mostly just nomadic shamanic people uh, who got corrupted when a power hungry shaman force fed the entire race demonic blood to corrupt them.
Was there like a big dope ass like cinematic involving this sequence in one of the games?
Yeah, well, yes and no.
Because I think I
Um,
remember watching that
yeah.
happen.
So basically, what happened? What you're thinking of is
I never played it,
eventually.
but a friend of mine did, and
So
yeah.
the orcs are corrupted by demons for the first two games. The
Hmm.
entirety of the first two games, they're under demonic control. In the third game, they break loose of demonic control and they're like trying to reclaim their heritage as like a shamanic people.
I can dig on
Um,
that. Yeah.
and that's how it goes for most of World of Warcraft. And then basically things get real fucked and they
It's life in a
accidentally
nutshell.
put Orc Hitler in power. He might be more like Orc Stalin, or Orc Alexander the Great,
Hmm.
just a real douchebag. And they end up beating him and sending him to prison, but he escapes and goes back in time to when the evil shaman corrupted all the orcs with demon blood and punches him right in the face. And that's the cinematic you watched.
That's awesome. Okay. All right. That's lit.
And so the orcs in Warcraft tend to be like very proud. Originally, they were kind of based on the Mongol horde,
Hmm.
the horde. Um, and then in later like iterations, it was like, okay, we should back off this negative stereotype and like talk about like the positive and cultural aspects of like Tengur and the Mongolian Empire, and so it kind of leaned into that. But
Which is
also,
funny because spoilies for Horus Heresy, but that's who the White Scars are.
yeah, the
Is
White
like
Scars are
yeah,
absolutely John Getty Khan is absolutely they're absolutely based
and they're dope as
on.
shit. They're one of my
Oh,
favorite
they're
groups.
very cool. I actually
Yeah.
bought a White Scar. I had a friend named Nature Gangan by Golly,
Oh yeah.
who was the
R.I.P.
front man. R.I.P. Rest in peace, my friend. And I bought. I was getting him into 40K, and I bought a White Scars unit that I was going to paint up to look like his band.
Oh cool.
Anyway, but at the same time, the Orcs of Warcraft are like kind of more Japanese, like Bushido. They're Bushido shaman, really.
Okay.
Because what happens with a lot of these things is once you get past them just being evil, you have to create a culture. And what happens when you get a bunch of weeaboos together and say, "What should we do?" They say,
Samurai.
let's take
Yeah.
all the coolest things I can think of, which are like
Yeah.
nomadic shaman, but also samurai, but also guns. Can we put all of that together? It's fun. Like I really like the orcs of
Sure.
Warcraft. I'm a big fan of the series to a point. Um, and
Would that point be World of?
no, I love World of Warcraft up to a point.
Yeah.
Later
If I was gonna get in
expansions.
on one, that would have probably been the one because I had like housemates that played it, and but no, I was not into PC gaming at that time.
So we mentioned Dungeons and Dragons. That's as most people's first experience with the orcs. Um, the problem with Dungeons and Dragons orcs is Dungeons and Dragons has not spent a minute making them interesting, in my opinion.
Mm.
Um, there's lots of books that like try to rectify this, but like there's more cool shit about gnolls than there are orcs, or beholders, or mind. Like there's tombs about mind flayers.
Man, I don't regret a single scrap of that Beholder content though. That's the good stuff.
It's really no, it's all good.
Yeah.
They just haven't done it for orcs because orcs are a cardboard cutout boogeyman for D&D.
Yeah. I have a question about another game that I know you love. Like, just based on the name, are there orcs in Morkity Borgity?
There aren't.
Hmm. Because then you'd be like, I play an orc and mork board or something like that, and yeah, that's
There's
no good.
mostly there's mostly humans in
Mm,
Morkborg. I'm working to rectify that a little bit. No
puny
spoilers.
humans. Oh,
Um, but I will mention another grimdark game here. And that
well,
is
thank
Shadow of the
Lucifer.
Demon Lord.
Whoa,
There you go.
nice.
Um, dude, so orcs in this game are albino
Whoa.
and we're an enslaved race.
Okay. Uh, Strange, but go on.
And when they as of the time that this game takes place, the orcs have freed themselves from the shackles of oppression
Hmm.
and taken over. And they
Okay.
are kind of cruel and kind of
Sure.
dicks. Um, and I could go into about the relation between oppressor and oppressed, and the
Hmm.
fact that it's not it, that oppression is also not binary. That you can at once be um, a person who was oppressed and also an oppressor, i.e., Jews fleeing Spain who then became slave owners in America.
Hmm.
Um, but it's a cool book. There's a lot of really fun lore that just straddles that edge of being over the top, which I love. Orcs
Yeah.
are often in that place of being this wilderness barbarian
Hmm.
who is under the shackle of some human empire usually.
So I was
um
gonna let me pop my little head in right here
yeah.
because this doesn't relate directly to 40K. It's more of a Horus Heresy thing, but there's a scene in one of the later books where some group or another of Space Marines encounters like they call them greenskins, but that sounds racist as shit to me, so I'm just gonna call them orcs. But they encounter them on some like crazy ass ice planet, and like they're essentially like feral orcs. Like they're slightly physically different than the regular orc, and
Weird.
they're like less advanced and more they're like they straddle. Like I bring these up because they were the perfect example of like a, they were a good example of how sentience is often treated like a black or white thing in
Mm,
gaming. Like something's
sure.
either just automaton, or it's like has a culture, right? And there's like
Right.
a whole in between, both in nature and in gaming, that is like semi sentient. And these orcs were the best representation of that I've seen, because they were kind of like Homo erectus would have been, or like Homo
Hmm.
habilis, like one of those like early like proto humans that didn't really know how to use tools, or kind of did, but like because they were described as having fashioned these like they were halfway between a club and a sword, which was deliciously brutal. I was like, oh my god, that would suck. And like,
uh,
yeah, and they were
oh,
chopping up
what's the name
a
of that
seal or
weapon?
something with it. But yeah, it was cool. Oh, and they couldn't craft metal. They had to find it all from like debris and shit. So yeah, scavengers and butchers, my favorites.
Oh man, I'm looking for the Macawuto,
Hmm,
Macalotl,
no
which
idea.
was the crazy Aztec club with shards of obsidian jammed in the
Yes,
side.
yes, I do
Like,
know.
oh,
Yeah,
such
yeah.
a cool weapon.
War Club is what they call that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's like
Yeah.
different cultures of. I actually in the novel I just finished my first actual draft of, that's now being edited. Like I included a rare category that was kind of somewhere between a sword and a war club, that was a war scythe. And like these things were just like I looked up some examples from like Babylon and shit, and like it just looked like it would suck to get killed with one of these. Excuse me, that's my kookaburra. Okay, there we go.
Your what?
That's a kookaburra call. It's my alarm. It's time
Ah.
to, yeah, time to go milk the pigs and I don't know, do something to the chickens.
Hmm. So
No, it's actually my med alarm, but I don't need to worry about that for half an hour. So
so orcs. Yeah, they're in D&D for a long time, orcs were the children of a god called Gramash, who
Hmm.
was a one-eyed war god.
Okay.
And even like half orcs, if orcs wanted to be good, like every time they closed their eyes, they could hear Gramash being like, kill, 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 kill,
Yeah.
kill, kill, everybody, kill, 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 kill,
Not
kill.
everybody hears that just like every time they close their eyes. I mean,
It's not always Lil Jon, but Gramash sounds exactly
yeah.
like Lil Jon and LMFAO.
Okay, cool.
Um, but that I think that can bring us. I think that can bring us to
The
this
the bristly bosom of my beloved.
Warhammer 40k. This is Wrath and Glory, which is the latest iteration of their tabletop game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they've had so many, because they've been around for goddamn ever.
Since like yeah, I was shocked. I looked it up the other day, and
Yeah,
was
it's old.
70 something,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
was
yeah,
it in
yeah.
the 80s? Yeah,
With like Rogue Trader,
yeah.
and yeah, there's Rogue Trader. Then Fantasy Flight got the
Mm-hmm.
license, and they had like Rogue Trader, Black Crusade, Dark Heresy, Only War, Death Watch,
See, now
and
we're
Dark Heresy
so
Volume
in my
2.
territory these days. Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and hey, I've read them all, and Charles is well on his way to have reading them all.
Oh,
Um,
I've read all of the. I think no, you told me they're the Primarchs ones. I've got to
yep,
track
there's
down.
Primarch one. There's the
Other than that,
Primarchs.
I'm all the way to Mortis. So that came out this very year, and that's by John French, and he's not the worst. The worst is Graham McFucking Neal, who
Oh, Graham McNeil's garbage
I got
trash.
beef with him, man. Like
You
as a
should.
disabled person, like I kind of need to kick his ass. I think I just threatened him on our show. So
You know what?
come and get me, FBI.
If you are a fan of Graham McNeil, first off, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Second off,
condolences.
or if you are Graham McNeil,
Yeah.
out of those categories, you can line up your fist fight with Charles Bernard by contacting our manager Joe Rogan at Joe
Yes,
Rogan.
at Joe Rogan. Yeah, yeah, he does PR managing. Uh, yeah, but the orcs of my beloved 40k universe are so interesting
They
because
really are.
I got into a scene in one of these books, one of these 58, 59, 60 something books that I've read, where I can't remember why, but they were doing like an autopsy on an orc. Because it was a new kind they hadn't seen before that did something unusual. And they cut into its like skull, and like it has a brain, but the brain is like made out of mushroom, the same way
Yeah.
that, the rest of it is. And I just found that so fascinating. I was like, a fungoid species like that looks humanoid. Like, why? Why wouldn't it just have like a zillion arms and like scoot all over the place? Like,
So do you want to know the history of the 40k orc race?
yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah,
Sit back, children.
okay, all right.
Once upon a time, there was an extremely advanced, intelligent race. They decided to grow a slave race. Essentially, they decided to grow servants because they were kind of weak and
Oh,
wimpy.
you mean like the Migu or Migao or whatever the fuck they
Yeah,
are?
like the Migu. Um, and they grew orcs. And but like you know, I don't know if you've noticed this, Charles. 40k is not the nicest neighborhood.
that's, that's one way to put it, I
It's a
suppose.
little bit
Yeah,
of a rough
yeah.
neighborhood. So they made the orcs they made their servants, the orcs, tough and rough and tumble,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a little bit too rough and tumble. They also needed the
Much like
orcs.
a space marine.
They also needed the orcs to be able to handle threats like the Eldar
Mm-hmm.
and the Necron. Using actually, I don't think you've encountered Necron
I did
or
in one of the games in Mechanicus when I
okay,
played it.
okay. I
So
was gonna
yeah,
say because they are not around in 30k, and neither are
no,
the Tyranids. Boy,
I
howdy,
got
they're
a I got like a basic breakdown of the Necron in Mechanicus, but
that makes sense.
yeah, not like a huge. They're your
No,
basic like your opening level foe and everything. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. They are not that in the 40k universe. They are very bad news. Anyway, um, and so they made these psychic mushroom servants, and some listeners who are less familiar with 40k but a little bit might be like, wait a second, aren't orc psychers super rare? No, They're all psychic.
What?
They exist. They exist as a myconoid superorganism of
Okay.
psychic individuals. So,
Wow.
you know
So
how
like I also so I could like take an orc, like take a little piece of them, grow some in a vat, like make some orc kombucha, and
yeah.
then after I was done with that, like wow, that's fucking crazy. I did not know that about them.
So, eventually, this warlike species broke the back of their masters, and it is theorized that gobbers and goblins are the remnants of that original originator
Wow.
species. They could also just be like orc babies or
Hmm.
sporelings, like the squibs are. No, like in Game Workshop's not going to close the door on that either way because it's too much fun. But so orcs are super psychic. Um, and this comes in three flavors. First, when a big strong orc, the biggest and strongest, kind of like the Hulk, the strongest there is, they're not just physically the strongest, they are psychically the strongest, and their ability to be big and tough emanates out from them and brings other orcs to them, building to a critical mass for their war or wog. Second, and this is the most fun aspect of orcs. If an orc believes something, it is true. Orcs, do you know why orcs paint their cars red?
So they
But
go faster
they think it makes them go faster. And do you know why they think that? Because
because
it
it
does,
does.
because
Yeah.
they think that.
That's called
Uh,
chaos magic, my friends,
they
which
are
is referenced so often in this fucking universe that I love, that I've fallen deeply in love and questionable. Like, I don't know. I've got a love hate thing going on with 40K. You can
you
read all
should.
about it eventually
That's
when I
all you
write
should
about it.
feel
But
about them. Love
yeah,
and hate.
because like I am simultaneously like it's a work of genius and like it's also
The work of a 7-year old.
well, yes, but it's also like there's so many elements of it that I'm just like I have to remind myself. I don't know. It's the same reaction I have to Dune, where it's like a reactionary future sucks so much that I'm just like, fuck. It's so well realized, but like that's such a dark thought that like. You remember that silly time that everybody thought slavery was bad for like 2 seconds, and then we went back to the entire world being built on like an economy of like forced human labor for the rest of all time and eternity. Like that's a
It's
shitty
essentially
fucking future.
it's essentially as if the United Arab Emirates got control of the whole planet and
Yes,
then the
yeah.
solar system.
Only if they were
Um,
ruled by like actual God Emperor Leto Atreides, like yeah. Oh, speaking of the Emperor, in 30K, 40K.
he's definitely an orc.
No, but
No,
he
he's not
almost
an orc.
got killed by one.
He
By a warlord. When you were talking about how they become like psychically strong as well as
hmm
physically, this was like the last of the giant orc warlords after the triumphant. Oh, it was before the triumphant Ulanor,
yeah, before the
and
triumph
like
of
Horus
Eleanor.
saved the emperor's fucking ass because he got sucked into the heart of this like planetoid thing that had like this just giant ass fucking obese like orc, like king of all orcs in kind of the heart of it near the reactor,
I
and the
wonder if it was
reactor
more
was going
caloric.
critical, and yeah, and like the emperor was just about to get his ass handed to him, and Horus had to like blast in and save him, and those are the good old days, I guess. I don't know, but
Again, like
yeah.
as cool and interesting as so many of this stuff is, like as soon as you mentioned Horus, I'm like, oh, this is boring.
Yeah.
He's like a vaudeville villain without the cool mustache.
Well, this is back before he was a villain, though. So it was more like He-Man. He was just like the avatar of like all masculinity, kicking ass and taking
One of the
names.
things I like about the 30K books is that when you get all the Primarchs together, they all argue,
They're catty
and
bitches.
and
Yeah.
their usual response, like almost to a one, they're like, "Why the fuck would you choose Horus? Sanguinius is right there."
Yeah.
Like every time they say, like,
For
good
good
and
reason.
bad.
For good reason. Like I was I don't know, man. I've learned some shit about the Emperor in the last like couple books that just, I mean, like I deeply need somebody to talk to for about 50 hours on this subject because
I think you're gonna like the Dark Imperium books. They're on Audible
probably,
already.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, the whole goddamn thing is on
yeah, I
Audible. I'm
know.
pretty sure.
It's
So
because that's
yeah,
because Black Library has an unending budget, and some
yeah.
really good talent to
So do
back
I
it up.
apparently for audiobooks.
But
So yeah.
but that takes place during like the current shit that's going on, which is real bad. Um, but it almost paints the God Emperor because Guilliman, who's back, talks to him, and the Emperor feels almost like a Lovecraft, like a Nyarlathotep,
Hmm.
or a Cthulhu, you
Way
know,
closer to that. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
which I love, which is like, yeah,
Yeah.
that is what I want a galaxy spanning psyker to be like,
Dude,
frankly.
the people who know him best, and they're all perpetuals, like they always refer to him as that creature that calls itself the Emperor or whatever, because he was human like once. He was born
Mm-hmm.
like arguably born a human, and he wasn't always as powerful as he is either. Like he
He
yeah.
was pretty powerful pretty quickly though.
Yes, but there was a point at which oh, I'm
He
just
was
gonna
a
give it
human.
away. I'm just gonna give it away. There's a point at which the perpetuals actually remember one of them in particular that like yeah he was always like the strongest of us, but he disappeared for a long time, and when he came back he was like way stronger. He was like the guy that you know and love now,
It's after he
and
went through that fucking gate.
yes. So
I know.
like
Look,
he is a Nyarl Hotep.
we can't give too much away in case any
Yeah.
other idiot out there wants to read 60 fucking books of fake history.
Yeah.
We put the Similarian to shame, by the way. Um,
Oh.
then again, man, if Dan Abnett did his own version of the Similarian, I'd probably be into it.
Dude, yeah, I'd read every word of that. To be honest,
Um,
I've got to read them all.
so orcs,
Ridiculous.
orcs. What makes orcs really cool, in my opinion, is that there's so many iterations of them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, elves tend to be pretty like, other than on maybe Dragon's Age, elves tend to be pretty cookie cutter across various fantasy settings. Orcs tend not to be.
Wide
Orcs,
spectrum of intelligence.
yeah,
Wide spectrum of how they dress, if they dress.
culture.
Like the clothes and up close thing is such an interesting with the Goot crew. Goblins, orcs, ogres, and trolls. Allow me to remind you, Goot crew. That like sometimes you see them in clothes, sometimes you see them out of clothes, like whether they're intelligent or not. It's sort of like cartoon bears that way, I guess. Or no, they
Goblins are problematic in Warcraft, in World of Warcraft, I should say. They're short, big nosed money grubbers with New
bummer,
York accents.
bummer. Really? Fuck.
Yeah, but
That's such a bummer.
but they wear super fly suits and they look
Okay.
pretty
All
rad.
right. All right. Cool.
But yeah,
At least they're looking good.
they never play up that, but like they kind of have New York East Coast accents.
That's
They have
fucking
big
terrible.
noses and they love money. They love
Oh,
cheaping
that sucks.
people and yeah.
I laugh because it sucks so much, not because
No,
yeah.
I know why you're laughing.
And that's from that's a Blizzard product.
That
Correct me if
is
I'm
a
wrong.
Blizzard product.
Yeah, I love that Blizzard, especially these days. They're just cool dudes. Cool over at Blizzard. Get it? Cool like a
I've
cool
known
blizzard.
so many people that work for Blizzard over the years, and um I've known so many people who've been crushed by the Blizzard machine.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if that's where Astrid was like a tester for 2 hot seconds, but I can't remember. I don't think so. I think it was some obscure. I don't know. I'll ask her, but yeah. Um, Blizzard sucks. Sorry.
I wish you didn't. You make some really rad games. It'd be really cool if you got your shit together and treated people humanly.
If it turns out I should have some wood to knock on when I say this, but give me a minute. I swear this never happens. No, get it anyway.
Are you talking
It's
about
gonna
your
turn out.
dick?
Yeah, a little bit. See, little bit.
Nice.
That's another. Yeah, it's gonna turn out that Games Workshop or like everybody from 40K is a horrible person, and it's gonna ruin my life because I've just fallen in love and I don't
Dan
need to be
Abnett's
crushed again.
that Dan Abnett is not a terrible person.
No, he
Just
seems cool.
just hold on to that.
Yeah.
Graham,
So, do you know
Graham
what the
McNeil
deal with
kicks
Gav
puppies.
Thorpe is? Like, what his? Because I think I
I
remember reading something in one of his books where I was just like, "Good fucking God Almighty!" Like,
I don't know. I don't know Gav Thor. I will say Aaron Dembski Bowden.
he seems all right.
I I was following him on Facebook for a while.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed down to earth and pretty fun and cool. Um and like him, Anthony Reynolds and Dan Abnett are the people I was mostly like, please don't be shitholes.
Oh, speaking of shitholes, man. So Alan Moore popped his little head out again.
I saw.
Oh, fuck me. And chose the best possible venue to do so. Russia Today, of course. And
Mm-hmm.
had some shit to say. And yeah, I just and like I've read stuff from people being like, I've known Alan Moore a long time, and you shouldn't take anything he says out of context, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, man, like I'm the type of stupid asshole that like says dumb stuff. Alan Moore is the type of smart asshole who says like terrible stuff on like either just to provoke or be contrarian or whatever. But it
My problem with the whole you're taking this out of context is I've often included the whole context and it's still garbage.
I have the perfect reply for you're taking me out of context or whatever. I always just say like, all right, provide context, like provide something that makes what you said okay, and I will gladly listen. But if it's like 900 pages to make it not suck because that's just not a that's ridiculous, that proportion, that much text to support a single statement. But anyway, yeah, like in Alan
Yeah,
Moore's
hey,
case,
don't convert to Judaism.
no.
Hey,
I don't I
why does this say this? Well, here's the entire Talmud. It will explain this one word.
see that though is like
Do I have to read the whole thing? Yeah, for fun. And okay, so I'll read the whole thing. No, you have to read it over and over again.
what I hate is like Alan Moore should only speak in one way, and that's through his like comics and writing, like, and he should just shut the fuck
Through
up
Thing
otherwise.
specifically.
What?
Through Swamp Thing
Yes,
specifically.
yeah, yeah,
Like
absolutely, in the
just take
80s.
Swamp Thing,
Yeah,
please.
even like I honestly, some of his I think it was like America's Best was the company that he started or something, but some of his solo comics that were like very indie were well, as much as you can call a company run by Alan Moore indie.
Yeah.
He like really knows his occult shit,
Yeah.
and I say that as someone who unfortunately that makes me kind of respect somebody a little bit, even if I detest them and
It's the
everything they
entire
stand for.
basis of our friendship, really.
Yeah. Well, that and the fact that you were willing to publish a story about eating shit that involved Donald Trump. It was great. Um, go look at the 31 Days of Godless if you like that statement, because there's plenty of stuff there to take your mind to special places. But
And while you're there, pick up American Cult,
yeah,
a Madness
man,
Heart
read.
Press anthology that includes a story from Charles and me.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. It's kind of like a slim volume, so it's not,
It is.
you're
It
not
is.
into a big commitment there. It's a
Mm-mm.
good starter title for
It is
Madness Heart
thinner than
Press.
most of our books, most of our solo works.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. And like I said, if you're a coprophile, then both my story and the 31 Days of Godless are right up your alley, your proverbial alley. And
We have
yeah,
we have about 10 minutes left. Let's talk about the 31 Days of Godless real quick,
let's do
because
it.
it's kind of crazy.
Hmm.
Um, if you do not know, if you have no idea what we're talking about, there's a website called godless.com.
Good URL to get, by the
It
way.
is now if you know anything about me, you know I am not godless.
He's
I
thoroughly
am
got it up. Yeah.
yeah, I am part of the I am part of YHVH crew. Um, uh, but what Godless is a distributor of independent horror. Um, I get my greatest amount of royalties through Godless, not Amazon, not my printer, not Barnes and Nobles, um, but through Godless.
You know what
They
they
pay the
remind me of? I've finally decided
what's
is
that?
like back in the days of paper publications, because I'm actually like 70, but you had all these like you had this rich ecosystem of like underground papers and underground comics, and like it kind of started being replicated by zine culture in the 90s, and like that's evidently either made a roaring comeback or never gone away, but like that's cool. And Godless is like the closest thing you can get to sort of zine culture that I've encountered in the horror genre online.
I can
And
see
so
that.
yeah,
I can
you get
see
like
that for
these
sure.
little slices of like very cheap, at least during this sale especially, and like high quality and high octane, I'll say, uh horror and bizarro and various other stuff. So
And on top of that, Drew, the guy who runs the whole thing, Drew Stepik, his intention was to create something that would remind people of record stores, like
oh,
used
that's
record
awesome.
stores, like where you walk in and you're just like flipping through pages. So everything's like really striking and you can see all
Mm-hmm.
the covers and you can just browse randomly and find cool shit. And you can get books, whole books for like 50 fucking cents. It's
Yeah,
great.
it's awesome.
Right now it's the 31 days of Godless for October leading up to Halloween because all horror people, myself and Charles included, murder ourselves during this month.
Oh fuck,
Um,
man. Yeah,
yeah, I'm dying.
it's been
um,
brutal. Yeah.
every day on Godless, 1 to 2 new releases. Usually for under $1. I mean, like Jay Wilburn put out a book for
Mm-hmm.
70 cents. It's a full novella, 34,000 words,
And it's
called
got a great title about
The Rat
because it's
Man.
not the Batman, it's the Rat Man.
Rat Man, and the
Yeah,
cover's baller.
it is.
We
All
put
these covers. Yeah.
Madnessheart.press put out a is putting out several titles this month, including um The Wild Witches of West Bygod by
Not
Paul
till the
Lubchewski.
15th.
Well, it's out on Godless right now.
Oh, that's true. That's true. We
Yeah,
won't have it on Madness Heart till the
yeah,
15th, but
on
yeah.
the 15th. But we release we Madnessheart Press fully endorses the indie scene, the self-publishing scene, the Godless scene. All of our books, uh, like not just now, but always will be available on Godless before they're available on our website or on Amazon.
Mhm.
Always get it first on Godless. Um, that said, we also have a new story from Susan Snyder coming out called Zippo. And
Ooh,
while we aren't publishing it, Lucas Mangum has a story called Bone Cider, which I got a sneak peek at. Very good.
I love
Uh,
that title. That's just
it's really good.
yeah.
I put out two things. You can
Yeah.
pick up, actually three. Sorry, you can pick up Stab Burger issue 2, which is my comic book inspired shorts about murdering Nazis.
I very much want to write a comic book with you, John. Like I
I
think
would,
that would be
I
a
will
fucking
do it in a
blast.
heartbeat, my dude.
Yeah.
Let's
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 figure it out.
create.
Let's make it
Uh,
happen.
and also the first two chapters of my new verse novella, The Unclean Verses. If you pick that up, again, 50 cents, you get not only the first two chapters that you can read, you get an audio recording of me reading them. So enjoy that if you will.
And
And then
if you're a Torah nut like John or a Bible nut like I inexplicably am, that's a good one to pick up. So it has my
trigger warning, everything.
yeah,
I will
yeah.
say that, like
For
trigger,
all
like
the for all the shit on Godless, yeah, like
yeah,
yeah,
Lucas's isn't that extreme. I would say Susan's is not that bad. I would feel safe recommending those to like a high schooler, frankly.
sure.
But Unclean Verses specifically, like understand that there's it is very hard hitting, and I will not be offended if you can't hang with it. That
For sure.
said, on October 28th, the Jewish Book of Horror anthology is coming to Godless.
Dope.
And I'm in that. A lot of other authors that are friends of mine are in that. So look out for that. Man.
Well
But
done, my
that's
friend.
not the only place to get books. There's some books that are not coming out this month that have already come out that are not only on Godless but other places as well,
It's true.
such as I don't know, A Baptism for the Dead.
I figured out my 3-word tagline / pitch for this one, which is Mormons, monsters, magic. If you like any of those 3 things, but especially if you like all 3 of those things, then you should check this book out. And by like Mormons, I don't mean like or dislike the religion or the people specifically, but I get into some esoterica in there that is not like the most often addressed in your mainstream Christian culture. And it has, like ghouls, and it has like black magic and all kinds of cool shit that I'm interested in. Am I interested in ghouls or
Yeah, I hope
boils?
so.
Boils or
I have a
ghouls or
bunch
both?
of books about them.
Yeah. Hmm. Anyway, yeah. And if you want that, you can go to charlesrbernard.com. You can go to madnessheart.press and get it there at madnessheart.press. That's how I'd recommend you do it, because the Charles Bernard thing will just take you to that link. Or you can go to godless.com and search for it there, or look on the Madness Heart tab.
Yep. And obviously, if you want to give money to Jeff Bezos,
Hmm.
which we do not recommend, you can obviously find all of our books there. Um, I'm not look. Hey, we're gonna get made. Charles will get paid no matter where you get his book, so don't
Yeah.
worry about that. But we do prefer if you don't give money to Amazon.
It'd be better that way. Although
Yeah,
some of the stuff that I'm in, like the one reason to go to Amazon for me, the only and it wouldn't net me any money, so I just say this because if you want to read more of my writing, the anthologies and magazines that have featured me are mostly only available on Amazon. I think.
yeah.
I think Thuggish Itch has their own like website or whatever. Anyway, but John, if people like, good lord, where to even start with you? Like, maybe a little stab burger, maybe a little. I mean, I don't know.
I have 12 books currently out
Yeah,
now. Um, which
that's a dozen,
considering I
dude.
started getting published in 2018 is it seems like a lot. Um,
Yeah,
but look, you can find everything at www.kaijupoet.com. I have our Twitter. There we go. No, there we go. Right down there underneath my name, I have our Twitter handles. You can follow Madness Heart Press.
yeah.
You can follow Kaiju Poet. You can follow CR Bernard. Holy shit! Why don't I have? You can follow us at Juan Moncast, which is not on this thing.
It's all right,
Which
man. It's our first time in the saddle, in the sack, whatever metaphor you want
we'll
to use.
figure it
So
out.
yeah, we'll figure it out.
We're gonna have a schedule because on top of this, if you're watching this on Twitch especially,
Yeah,
not only is this going to be once a week, we're also going to have Madness Heart Radio once a week where I'll be interviewing various people
notables.
from like Jenny from the block. I don't even know what that's a reference to. I just said it. I'm so
You'd be more
sorry.
like Eddie from the Crypt. Is that Ed Lee? Like, no, I think Eddie
Yeah,
from the Crypt is Iron Maiden's mascot.
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Dude, hey, uh, I'm sure Ed Lee would come on if he could figure out how to work a camera. I love
Ooh.
Ed. I love you,
Yeah.
Edward. If you're listening, and I know you're not, I do love you, but
Talk all the shit you want. Yeah.
yeah, he is busy eating crawfish. Um,
Yeah.
I was talking to Edward Lee the other day, which is still a weird thing to be able to say. And I was like, "Hey man, how's it going? Oh, it's my birthday. Oh, happy birthday!" And then he just sent me like a dozen pictures of his dinner because he was eating seafood.
Yeah, man. People like who can get down with seafood, crawfish in particular, like most of all, like we know how to suck the head. So,
I
you know.
I don't. I can't. I'm
It's
unallowed.
delicious. It's
Uh,
oh yeah. I've got some weird food restrictions now, but luckily I can eat pretty much anything that's cooked, but like never again sushi, never
mm,
again like anything that's basically like an uncooked protein, which is like
Oh, that's
how
harsh.
mostly I like protein, but
Yeah, me too.
yeah,
Okay.
regrettably.
It's been over an hour. We have devolved from talking about orcs to talking about our orc-like diets.
Of course. Yeah.
Friends, it's been a blast. It's good to be back. I like this. I like being able to see
Yeah.
my friend and
Yeah, this
being
is
able to
fun.
show off books. Um, check us out. We've given you our websites. If you missed that, you can either rewind. This is a recorded video, or again, down there you can go on our Twitter. Our websites are on our Twitter bios,
Absolutely.
and yeah,
You know how the internet works, for
yeah.
God's sake. Like
If you understand how the internet works, please drop me a DM and then explain to me how to check my
series of
DMs.
tubes, my friends. That's an
Um,
old joke, but yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on this consensual journey we call Wandering Monster. I have been John Baldisberger.
I have been Charles R. Bernard.
And until next week, stay safe, but stay scared.